Adam is in Italy, trying to understand the origins and history of Italian cuisine. He has travelled extensively across the country, trying to discover why every little town and every little region has something unique in its food culture. Every region has a different pasta and a different way of using it. Even within a single region, the differences between one city and another can be startling. As a brand ambassador for a premium pasta brand, Adam needs to understand the intricacies of these different histories and culture. That is why he's on his pasta pilgrimage. In this episode, Adam ventures out from Florence to the quiet Tuscan countryside. Here, he discovers a family home in the Val di Pesa that tells the story of one of Tuscany's most successful families. Then, he heads south to Poggio all'Oro to see the giant white cows of Val di Chiana.
Last time I was in Italy, I got a really good understanding of the different food cultures between the regions. But this pilgrimage, I want to learn about the food culture in just one region.
Adam has come to Villa Le Corti near San Casciano, about 20 kilometers south of Florence. The villa is owned by the Corsini family that has been linked with this valley since the 1100s.
Duccio, in the Italian history, the Corsini family is a very influential Florentine family. So at the height of their influence, and talking about the land, how much did they control?
They owned more than controlled, I would say around 40,000 hectares at the peak. At the beginning, not as much. San Casciano, the village we are in here, was one of the preferred areas where they bought land. Le Corti was bought in 1363. And at the time, they bought an olive mill, vineyards and olive groves.
Yes.
And this is why so near to Florence, because the market was Florence. So
It's close to travel.
travel at the time took time, and what was not easy because of being stolen or anything like that.
Okay, so they would have been producing olive oil and
They would
wine.
be producing olive oil, wine. It was only in the 18th century that this area was consolidated as one of the most important areas of production of wine in Tuscany.
What I really want to know is, what is your favorite plate of pasta?
My favorite is to follow season.
Okay,
So we have this property is all organic to start with.
Beautiful.
So I would say that today I would love spaghetti with a very, very simple and well-made tomato sauce.
After the break, Adam and the villa chef whip up Duccio's favorite pasta dish. Located deep in Villa Le Corti is a kitchen dating back to the 1600s, where Adam finds Laura, the villa's resident chef.
So here in the villa, in this amazing kitchen, they hold cooking classes, and I have Chef Lara. Ciao, Lara.
Ciao Adam.
Firstly though, have a look at this amazing produce. All this produce is grown in their garden just on the side of the villa. Now Lara, what do we do first?
Cipolla.
Look how small they are. Gorgeous, okay.
Ok.
Chop, chop, chop.
Sì. Olio.
Olio. Look at the rich color of that olive oil, it's fantastic. On a medium heat, Lara's just letting those onions saute away in olive oil. Sale.
Sale.
So the salt's gonna help the onions to actually collapse and cook down and become nice and sweet. Only 2 minutes the onions stay in the pan, that's quite fast. So she's using the pasta boiling water to help collapse the onions down and speed up the cooking process.
Si tagliano I pomodori.
Pomodori now, okay. 20 odd pomodoris, so about 20 tomatoes. So in with the tomatoes. Look at the colors in the pan. The green onions, the beautiful red tomatoes, starting to look a little bit like the Italian flag. The only thing missing would be the pasta. E pepe?
Sì.
È bianco o
Nero.
nero?
Prende la pasta.
La pasta, ok. Spaghetti.
Sì.
Into the boiling water. Lara uses the large sea salt in her pasta water because it obviously breaks down over the cooking time of the pasta instead of fine, normal, regular table salt. And straight away, mixing the pasta so it doesn't sit at the bottom of your boiling water. It's going to cook nice and evenly. What I find interesting is that Lara is actually using a very wide and not too deep pot to cook her spaghetti in. So obviously the spaghetti cooks nice and evenly with that volume, the space of the pot.
È pronta la pasta e si può scolare qualche minuto prima.
Okay, so Lara's just told me that the pasta's almost there, but she wants to finish the last part of the cooking process in the sauce. This is really crucial to making a good plate of pasta. I love how Lara's just working that pasta through the sauce, making sure it's coating all the pasta. So what happens is when you finish off your pasta in the sauce, it actually takes on the flavor of your sauce. This is true Italian Tuscan cooking. So adding the basil to finish, stirring all through the sauce and the spaghetti. The smell is just amazing. The fresh tomatoes. Look at that, using the ladle just to help grab the spaghetti, place it nice and neatly on the plate. Sauce is just clinging to the pasta the way it should be. So this plate's for Duccio, his simple plate of spaghetti with fresh tomato sauce. Duccio, here we go, your favorite plate of pasta.
Looks fantastic. The oil, fresh tomato.
Duccio, I can understand why this is your favorite plate of pasta. It's just perfecto.
It is.
Being extensive landholders in Italy, the Corsinis owned many estates. Their Grand Palazzo in Florence housed a huge collection of family records, which were not being properly cared for nor easily accessible. The family decided to consolidate the archives and move them here to Villa Le Corti.
Duccio, we're standing in the archive room, which is quite amazing. Can you tell me a bit about it?
It was moved here in the spring of 2014. It lived in Florence for over 250 years before that. Wow. So this is the second move in the history of the archive. It took some time to organize, and then about 3-4 months to set up all the shelving and to bring all the 12,000 volumes here.
12,000 volumes.
12,000 volumes, and to dust it all because it was untouched for 250 years. So we actually destroyed the possibility to study pollution in Florence for 200 years.
and the oldest volume would be? The oldest archive right here?
The oldest volume would be around 1270.
1270.
Yes, it contains copies of documents from 1205 and 1300. I would say those are the oldest original documents we have here. And goes all the way through 1960.
How do you keep them in order? When you shifted them, how did you?
Well, it was like a battle game. It was like a mapping of the archive where it was. It was divided in 6 rooms that are double this one we see here. And then we set up the shelving, and in theory, all was set. And then the move started. The great problem for the project manager was, oh my God, it's not going to fit. Today it's 10 rooms. It's about 200 tons of paper set up in this 2/3 of the first floor of Villa Le Corti for 12,000 volumes or 1.2 kilometers of papers.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's what I paid, the shelves. It's 1.2.
Can you tell me about some of the significant members of the Corsini family?
In 1700, 1340, there was Lorenzo Corsini that was appointed Pope. He's famous for reorganizing the Vatican State, that was mainly Central Italy at the time, building the Trevi Fountain and many other very important monuments in Rome, including the facade of St. John Lateran and the Quirinale Palace, the facade. He's done a lot, including ports and hospitals and all that. There are also less famous members of the family, like Maria Corsini, that married Niccolò Machiavelli, that is actually very famous and back in fashion, especially for his way of teaching politics to his prince. Maria Machiavelli was one of the sisters of the Prince Corsini at the time, of the prince in the sense the oldest of the family. And I discovered last year that Maria Corsini was married to Niccolò. She was very, as you can find in letters here in the archive, she was very unhappy wife.
Why?
Because Niccolò was not a very present husband and was very independent. And then he was at a point sent in exile by the Florentine Republic to Sant'Andrea in Percussina. That is a village not far from here. It's about 5 kilometers.
The temptation to visit Machiavelli's place of exile was too great, especially as it's so close. Join me for a look after the break.
Niccolò Machiavelli saw the invasion of the French, the fall of the Medici, and the formation of the Republic of Florence. He was a diplomat for the Republic, writing dispatches with great insight, and was responsible for a time for the Florentine militia. All of this influenced his major work, The Prince, which is still compelling reading today. Adam visits his family's villa in Sant'Andrea in Percussina.
He lived in dangerous times, and when he wanted to get away from the power politics of Florence, he came here, to his villa.
This was one of Machiavelli's family country properties, and it's the one where Machiavelli lived during the exile, from 1512 to 1514, and where he wrote The Prince, actually.
Clearly, the break from politics and the reading of Roman history inspired this great work, which was condemned by many.
He was sent away by the Medici because as secretary of the Florentine Republic, he gets so many political relationships all over Italy and Europe, so that Medici were afraid of his political ways. Yes, his power he got practically all over Europe. So they decided first to torture him, to send him in prison, and finally to send him in exile.
But why here?
Because from here you can see the Dome of Florence, and Machiavelli could see it and couldn't reach it. It was a very, very sad period for him.
But I heard he had a secret. There was a secret to this house.
Oh yes, he managed to know something about the town during the exile.
How was that? How did he do that?
Oh yes, there's a special tunnel.
Wow. Tell me a bit about this tunnel, Betty.
This was connecting the house and the restaurant. You know, I told you the road was very dangerous at the edge, so they could go from the house to the restaurant and from the restaurant to the house directly from underneath the road.
Why was it dangerous at that time?
Oh yes, this road used to bring pilgrims towards Rome, and you can imagine many pilgrims, many thieves waiting for them, so when there was some danger, they rather used this tunnel.
No doubt Machiavelli would have dined on the local Tuscan fare, soups, pasta, and perhaps the occasional delicacy, Florentine steak. Adam is travelling south towards San Gimignano to see a living part of an ancient food tradition from the region. He has come to Poggio all'Oro to see a herd of Chianina cattle, an ancient breed that has been raised in Tuscany for at least 2,000 years.
So Sarah, tell me a bit about Poggio all'Oro.
It's my organic farm, my family business, and with this beautiful view of San Gimignano, it's an amazing paradise, an organic, real working farm.
Tell me a bit about the origins of the beautiful breed.
Those are Chianina. It's one of the most ancient breed that we have in Italy and in the world. They exist since the Roman age, more than 2,000 years ago.
What's the difference between this breed and, say, other breeds like Angus?
The Chianina is huge. It's a huge structure and a big skeleton, and it can weigh over 1,000 kilograms.
1,000. Okay.
We have a record in the history after the Second World War is 1,700 kilograms.
That's humongous.
Yeah, it's huge.
What were they used for?
The Chianina, they were stronger, bigger, and so they were used in the agriculture to help farmers, like my father was doing when he came here. He was using the cows instead of tractors.
I understand there's a typical dish that is cooked with this beautiful meat.
It is true, the most famous Fiorentina T-bone steak.
Perfect.
Bistecca alla Fiorentina.
Oh, and how big is this steak normally?
Usually it's more than 1 kilogram. It's very thick and it's always cooked rare. People think that is because a chef that a long time ago say that, but it's actually because if you overcook, the meat became too tough because the chianina is not a tender meat.
So it must be cooked rare.
Rare, yes.
Seriously, I can't wait just to try a piece of this meat. I'm just like a kid in a candy store. Oh, look at this.
Questo è il filetto.
Filetto, sì. Amico, io mangia?
Mangia, mangia.
Grazie.
Vai.
Look at that, nice and rare. So soft and tender. The flavour in that meat is unbelievable. I've cooked many pieces of steak over my life as a chef, but this would have to be the ultimate piece of meat that I've eaten. No meat from these Chianina cattle is wasted. After the break, I show you Amico and Rosa's ragu with curly fettuccine. The thing I like about Poggio Loro is they use all the beast and they make top quality mince. In this next recipe, I'm using the mince to make beef ragu with curly fettuccine.
For the full list of ingredients and method, visit Adam's Pasta Pilgrimage.
To start this recipe, we need to chop up an onion, celery, and a carrot with the garlic. Need to dice it quite finely. When you're cutting an onion, the main thing is to make sure that you do little lines across and then come in and make one incision into the half and then you hold it together. That way you get a nice even dice. Now, if you had a food processor at home, you could put all this in the food processor, give it a quick blend and away you go. I'm a little bit old school. I like to use my knife. Just remember when dicing your carrot and your onion and your celery, make sure it's all the same size. That way it cooks nice and even in the pan. Celery. Now some parsley as well. 1 garlic clove as well. Mix it all in. I remember my nonna doing this, chopping up all these veggies, which she used to call soffritto misto, which is the basis to lots of Italian ragus. It just really starts it off. It gives that really heartiness to it. Getting all those veggies into the pan with a good amount of olive oil. All in at once. Put your heat on about medium, and you really want to fry that off for about a good 5 to 10 minutes. A little bit of salt also helps your veggies to collapse down a little bit quicker. Next, we need to add in the beef. Using your wooden spoon, just break down all that beef mince, and you want to brown it off. Takes a little bit of work to do this, but it's worth it. Just try and break it down so all the beef mince looking the same size. I can't take the credit for this recipe. It was Sarah that showed me her traditional beef ragu family recipe actually, and she gave me one great tip.
When the beef starts to be gray, the secret ingredients is a good Chianti wine.
A must in Tuscany. And I actually have some Chianti here. Perfect timing. In with the Chianti into the pan. Oh, a little bit more. Now you need to cook that Chianti down by half, so it's going to take about 5 to 8 minutes. Bring your heat up to nice and high so it's boiling away, and that way it'll cook out all the alcohol. It's looking great. Now we need to add in the tomatoes. Give that a stir, combining that beautiful beef mince, the Chianti with the tomatoes. Okay, bring that up to the boil, drop it down to a simmer, cook it for about 45 to 55 minutes. It's time to cook our curly fettuccine. Good pinch of salt. Just drop in your curly fettuccine like so. Then using the back of the wooden spoon, just gently make sure the pasta slides down the pot and jumps into the hot boiling water. That way it cooks nice and evenly. Sauce is looking amazing, reduced down, rich in colour, smells fantastic. My pasta, take it straight out of your boiling water into the sauce. Now, just give that a little toss, lick it all through, mix it all together. The great thing about the curly fettuccine, it just clings onto that bolognese sauce, and I can't wait to try. Just a little bit of the beef mince on top to finish. And there you go, Rosa and Amico's beef ragu with curly fettuccine. The history of Italy is not tied up in a mighty emperor or hereditary crown. It is tied up in the families in different regions, leaving their mark on history. This helps to explain the diversity of food through the regions and the exceptional importance placed on family in Italian culture.
In the next episode, Adam continues south to discover the arch rival of Florence, Siena. Here, Adam will discover that there is a very different view of Tuscany in the south. So, join him next time on Adam's Pasta Pilgrimage. For all recipes and story information, visit adamspastapilgrimage.com.